Next on Currents News, a search warrant is served today on the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston. Authorities are looking for evidence against a priest accused of sexual abuse. Team coverage is next. A new development at the U.S.-Mexico border. Some of the Central American migrants waiting there planning to go back home. The funeral for an innocent shopper who faced pure evil in a Catholic supply store. She's being called a martyr for the faith. Plus, a Muslim infant is left at a Brooklyn Catholic church. The baby girl's mother hoping the child will receive good care. The news starts right now.
The state of Texas will go to any length necessary to protect children.
The district attorney of Montgomery County, Texas, holding a news conference after authorities entered the offices of the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston today, armed with a search warrant. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. Authorities are looking for files as they investigate a priest accused of sexual abuse. The Archdiocese says it's cooperating with the investigation. Currents News' Michelle Powers has the latest.
Early this morning, a team of more than 50 law enforcement officers moved into the headquarters of the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston.
This is not a search warrant against the Catholic Church, nor is it a search warrant against its employees. It's a search warrant to obtain records.
Armed with a search warrant, Brett Ligon, the county district attorney, is looking for records related to Manuel La Rosa Lopez, a priest who was charged and arrested in September of this year after he was accused of molesting teens in the 1990s and early 2000s.
People who know Montgomery County know that we value our children and we value victims of violent crimes. And anybody who's been a victim of child sexual assault knows it's the most violent of cases.
La Rosa Lopez has denied the allegations and is currently free on bond.
Good morning, brothers.
The leader of the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston, Cardinal Daniel DiNardo, is also the leader of the United States bishops. He's called the current sex abuse crisis a moral catastrophe. In a statement, the Archdiocese said that the investigation came as a complete surprise. The Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston continues to cooperate, as we have since the outset with this process. In fact, consistent with Cardinal DiNardo's pledge of full cooperation, the information being sought was already being compiled.
I've spoken with Cardinal DiNardo, and he has been cooperative, and I take him at his word that he is trying to be transparent. And obviously, he didn't know the search warrant was going to be here today.
Cardinal DiNardo has been in the headlines recently, facing criticism from abuse survivors who believe he mishandled certain cases in both Iowa and Texas. Cardinal DiNardo adamantly denies this.
Patron saint of children is St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas is also known as Santa Claus. Well, Santa Claus is here to tell you that the state of Texas will go to any length necessary to protect children.
A practicing Catholic himself, D.A. Brett Ligon, said his office is prepared to have the search last up to 2 days if necessary. Michelle Powers, Currents News.
Also monitoring the breaking story and its impact on the church is national correspondent for the Tablet and Crux, Christopher White. He joins us now. Christopher, thank you so much for being here. A major part of this developing story is the prosecutor in this case saying that he'll turn over any other relevant files to the Texas Rangers or the federal authorities. What could that mean?
That's right, Liz. It's interesting because the premise, of course, for this warrant is this one particular priest in question. However, his remarks today sort of saying any other relevant information could be turned over to federal authorities sort of hints that if there are other things that raises eyebrows and that seem suspicious that go beyond this case, they too could become grounds for further investigation, which could open up a whole new can of worms.
Now, Cardinal DiNardo is currently the head of the U.S. Catholic bishops. How does today's news affect his capacity on that front?
Well, Liz, we have 300 Catholic bishops in this country that are embattled by the sexual abuse crisis, and Cardinal DiNardo is responsible for sort of representing them and leading them through this. And it's very difficult to do this when you've got this in your home diocese sort of taking advantage, taking all of your attention. And so he faces an uphill battle to do this. He's of course pledged to cooperate, but he's doing so he's sort of against a lot of odds at the moment.
What comes next, Christopher?
Well, in Texas in particular, this one particular case of this one priest in question will go forward, but there's the possibility, of course, of a larger statewide investigation. It was just last month that the dioceses were all warned in every diocese in this country to save all of their records.
All right, Christopher, thank you very much. The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops established what is known as the Dallas Charter in 2002 to combat and prevent sexual abuse. Now, some of the measures include creating the Office of Victim Assistance to help individuals who come forward with allegations of abuse. The office provides counseling, referrals for therapy, and other important resources. Every employee of the Brooklyn Diocese, including students, undergoes mandatory training designed to spot the signs of abuse and how to stop it. Bishop DiMarzio meets with survivors and listens to them carefully. One result of those talks is the annual Mass of Hope and Healing in the diocese. The diocese also has a toll-free and confidential sexual abuse reporting line. That number is 888-634-4499. And for more information, go to the Diocese of Brooklyn's website, dioceseofbrooklyn.org, and click on Protecting Our Children. The future remains uncertain for the migrant caravan seeking asylum in the U.S. Thousands of migrants are still living in tents on the Mexico side of the border, while many others are going back to their home countries. Federal officials in Mexico are encouraging them to get on buses and return home. Some of them chose to do so. One woman explains her fears.
There's hunger there. There's suffering. No education or health for children. It's better to be there than to get killed by bullets here.
Some migrants are asking the Mexican government to help them find jobs so that they can stay in Mexico. The migrant border crisis is impacting Washington tonight. Congress is working against the clock to avoid a shutdown. At the center of the fight is the funding for President Trump's border wall. Omar Jimenez reports.
A little more than a week. That's all the time Congress has to avoid a potential government shutdown, and there's a big wall in the way. The wall.
We want to finish the wall. We got to get funding from Congress.
And in a new interview, President Trump tells Politico if Congress doesn't appropriate $5 billion for a border wall, he would totally be willing to shut down the government. House Republicans have passed a bill with $5 billion for the wall.
We've seen what is happening along the southern border. I'm hopeful now that that changes and that we can solve this problem and make sure our borders are secure. And everybody realizes our immigration system is broken and that we can solve this problem once and for all.
The Senate, on the other hand, needs Democratic support for the bill, and bipartisan negotiators have only agreed to $1.6 billion for any border wall, nowhere near the president's target.
Secure the border is going to be a bottom line for the president. He's got a $25 billion plan. I don't think he expects to get $25 billion all at once. But he does expect to get $5 billion, like the House authorized, without a bunch of strings attached.
Even aside from immigration, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. There are other measures remaining, including commerce, justice, and science, which encompasses some funding for Special Counsel Robert Mueller's office. In Washington, Omar Jimenez, Currents News.
A Vatican official in charge of the migrants and refugees section of the Holy See says he visited the caravan in Mexico recently and he found that they want a better future.
Poverty is a very important cause, and that poverty is itself caused by the activities of multinational corporations in their country. It's also beginning to be caused by climate change. Everybody who is watching this program would agree that if they and their families faced reasons like this, they would also flee.
Father Michael says the church is being as helpful as it can to those who left their homes with only the clothes on their backs. Today is Red Wednesday, when churches and monuments around the world are bathed in the color of martyrs. The campaign is to encourage people to stand up for religious freedom. The papal charity Aid to the Church in Need is spearheading the drive, which is known as Courage in Red Week. According to the leaders, 100,000 Christians are killed because of their religion every year. The woman killed inside of a Catholic supply store in Missouri has been laid to rest, and a church deacon points out that she could become a martyr dying for her faith. Russell Kinsall has more.
A packed crowd remembered Jamie Schmidt for her art and music, as well as her devotion to her family and faith. During the celebration of Mass, the way she died was acknowledged.
During that fateful afternoon at Catholic Supply, while innocently shopping for religious items, Jamie faced pure evil.
Schmidt was referred to as a wife and a mother, and the service was telling of how she and her family are loved and respected in this community.
It's just an amazing family to have known for so long, all of us to have known for so long, and it's just such a shame that they have to go through this.
Schmidt was very active in the parish. Chris Legue is a former sister-in-law.
She'll be sorely missed. They are very family-oriented, that whole family, and they are wonderful people.
During his homily, Deacon Jim Assell said that a visiting priest told him because of the way she died, Schmidt could possibly be recognized as a martyr.
He said he has researched and studied how the church beatifies and canonizes saints and determines who are martyrs for the faith. And he said he believes that Jamie qualifies.
For now, police have not stated that Schmidt was killed because of her faith.
The suspected killer made his first court appearance on Monday and asked for a public defender. There's a lot more news headed your way. A Muslim baby is dropped off at a Brooklyn Catholic church, the infant's mother hoping the child would receive love and care. Some cancer patients get hope with the approval of a new drug, but the price tag is very high. And the heartwarming scenes from the Vatican this morning. Pope Francis is with a very special young man. An important programming note to share with you: Currents News will be moving to new time slots. Starting Monday, December 3rd, the news will air a half hour earlier at 7 p.m. right here on net. Reruns will air at 10 p.m. and then the next morning again at 7:30 a.m. So mark your calendars. We'll be right back. Some good news tonight about a Muslim baby left at a Brooklyn Catholic church. A church staff member wants to adopt the newborn girl. Currents News' Tim Harfman reports on how the church's pastor learned that something unusual was happening.
We've done what we're supposed to do.
Father Charles Borno was holding a staff meeting at Our Lady of Refuge Church in Midwood when suddenly
I ran back to the meeting and said, "We have an urgent situation here."
A 2-week-old baby girl wrapped in a pink blanket, seen here in the arms of the Brooklyn priest.
They called me father. That day, I became a father.
It was the day before Thanksgiving when surveillance video captures the moment a Muslim family arrived at the Catholic church. In desperation, the mother and 3 relatives claimed they couldn't care for the baby. Hearing the news, parish staffers were emotional.
Just to, hear that, they want to give up a baby, it was just very, very sad to see.
But the Muslim mother won't face charges for leaving the infant. Under New York State's Abandoned Infant Protection Act, a parent is allowed to give up a child up to 30 days, as long as the child is left in a safe manner. Churches are considered safe havens, along with places like hospitals and firehouses. The newborn was evaluated at a Brooklyn hospital, then placed with Administration Children's Services. And although the family showed up to the rectory unannounced and the mother said she can't care for the child, one person connected to the parish is willing to adopt.
One of the cops from the precinct called me and asked if anyone wanted to adopt the baby. So I told her, hold on, I'll call you right back. And then I called my cousin.
Franz LaFortune says the child is currently with his cousin. On December 26th, she hopes to finalize the adoption.
The mother, of the infant was saying, that she's in good hands.
Sister Celia Deutsch coordinates interfaith gatherings for Our Lady of Refuge. She's not surprised the Muslim family turned to the Catholic Church.
The dialogue of life, which is basically people living together side by side and meeting one another in respect. And there's a lot of that in this neighborhood.
The name of the church is Our Lady of Refuge. This has become a refuge.
In Midwood, Brooklyn, Tim Harfman, Currents News.
Oh, our prayers are certainly with that precious baby and the family, hoping to give her a home. Now, this heartwarming story comes during National Adoption Month, which focuses on finding adoptive homes for children in foster care. Tony Esposito is the Director of Adoption for Little Flower Children and Family Services of New York, and he joins me now to talk more about the organization's long-standing mission of providing a safe, nurturing environment for raising children. Tony, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me.
Many families want children. You often hear that those who can't conceive or those who have trouble conceiving, they explore options like surrogacy or in vitro fertilization. Now, as we just heard in Tim's report, adopting the baby girl may be a choice, but does that choice receive a lot of attention?
Absolutely, and certainly that's something that needs to be considered because the options are varied in terms of in vitro fertilization or, as in our case, foster care adoptions.
Which is not to say, as you just mentioned, that adoption is not acknowledged and is not important. Now, November, again, recognized as National Adoption Month, and we hear a lot of great stories. Like in Brooklyn, family court, judges finalized, I believe it was 40 children and their families that found homes through adoption. 22 families in D.C., the same thing during National Adoption Month. And what are the advantages of all that?
Well, I mean, the advantages are that we are doing a good service in that most folks don't know that we have over 123,000 waiting children nationwide who are waiting for homes. So when a child finds their forever home, you're really doing a good thing.
I like that, the forever home. I want to talk about the history of Little Flower, which is wonderful. It's been taking care of children for nearly a century. You said about
1929.
1929. Its founder, Monsignor Bernard Quinn, I have to say this, he's up for sainthood. How did adoption start at the agency first?
Well, adoption officially started at the agency in 1970.
Okay.
So under Bernard Quinn, he started basically a safe haven for the youth in his parish. That eventually grew in the 1970s to an adoption program, which has been existing since then.
Now, how are people eligible for adoption through Little Flower?
So primarily our foster parents who we certify at Little Flower and place the children that are removed by ACS into the system. Those foster parents are primarily the ones that wind up becoming the adoptive parents. Basically because they're the ones with the relationship with the child. So it would be terrible to sever that relationship at the time that a child becomes free.
Now, for a lot of people, they hear adoption and automatically they see dollar signs. They think it's financially unfeasible for them to adopt. Is that the case?
Not in foster care. In foster care, when a child is placed in a home, that foster parent begins to receive monthly funds for the child. And 98% of the children that wind up becoming adopted in our system receive funding so that the adoption fees, the legal fees are subsidized. And in fact, the monthly stipend continues even after the adoption until the child is 21, as well as Medicaid medical insurance, which is incredibly important in this day and age.
Two-part question for you, Tony, in the time we have left, which is not much. What do you get from this every day, being able to match children and their families?
I think I tell people I have the greatest job in the world. I help children find forever homes. That's the greatest gift you can give a child.
Tony, thank you so much for being here, and especially thank you for all the work you do at Little Flower.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure being here, and happy National Adoption Month.
Yes, amen to that. If you'd like to get more information about the services offered by Little Flower, you can go to littleflowerny.org or call 718-875-3500. The FDA has approved a new drug that could change the way doctors treat certain cancers. Vitrakvi is designed to fight a specific genetic mutation in some forms of cancer. Doctors say they've seen significant turnarounds in patients using the drug, but it's expensive. A month's supply for adults goes for $32,000. The dosage for children costs $11,000. Up next, editor-in-chief of the Tablet, Jorge Dominguez, joins us to talk about what's coming up in this week's edition of the paper. Plus, why is there sand outside St. Peter's Basilica? And the moving moments when Pope Francis welcomes a little boy to the stage during this morning's general audience. And do you have a story idea? Something happening in your parish we should know about? We want to hear from you. Keep this email handy. News tips at desalesmedia.org. We'll be right back. Tonight, a special look ahead to the latest edition of the Brooklyn Diocese Tablet newspaper. Jorge Dominguez is the editor-in-chief, and he joins us now. As always, thank you for being here with me, my friend. Never fails. Jorge, there are stories in the Tablet that are sure to make readers go, wow, this is pretty interesting. And this week is absolutely no exception. We have interfaith leaders that are helping to prepare for Christ's birth. Please tell us more about this.
Oh, you're right. I mean, the Maimonides Medical Center, we usually identify them as a Jewish institution. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that for the last 24 years, they have a program there, and it's called Celebration of Light. Mm-hmm. And basically it is that they help Christian churches, most of them Catholic churches, celebrate Christmas. They give each one of the churches $1,000 to buy Christmas, lights and all kind of stuff to celebrate Christmas. It's such a beautiful interfaith event.
What a wonderful program. Also in this issue, an annual tradition. It's a tablet favorite, Bright Christmas. Tell us about that really quickly.
Well, for the last half a century, at the tablet we have Bright Christmas. Mm-hmm. And it is a program where people can donate money, just money, no toys, money. And we send those monies to programs around the diocese, to several parishes, to any program associated with the diocese that needs help for Christmas.
And what is the address?
Oh, well, the address is 1712 10th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11215.
All right. Thank you so much, Jorge. Always great to have you here. Thank you. And supporting the tablet ensures that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. These are stories that oftentimes they just can't be found anywhere else. So subscribe to the tablet right now. You save up to 55%. Go to the website, thetablet.org/home55, or you can call 1-877-883-8356. The Vatican is preparing for the Christmas season with a not-so-traditional nativity scene. Some 700 tons of sand will be used to construct the scene of Christ's birth. The creators have been sculpting sand nativities in Italy for years, and their goal this year is to build the largest one in the center of Rome. The sculpture will be inaugurated on December 7th and will remain on display at St. Peter's Square through the holidays. One little boy had no concerns about security as he walked up the steps of the audience hall to touch a Swiss guard in the middle of today's general audience. Pope Francis was moved by the visit as he told his mom to let the youngster be when she tried to move him from the stage. The Holy Father surprised the crowd when he explained what happened afterwards.
No puede hablar, es mudo, pero sabe comunicar, sabe expresarse. Y tiene una cosa que me hizo pensar, es libre, indisciplinadamente libre. Y me hizo pensar a mí, ¿yo soy también libre así delante de Dios? Cuando Jesús dice que tenemos que hacernos como niños, nos dice que tenemos que tener la libertad que tiene un niño delante de su padre. No sé, creo que nos predicó a todos este chico y pidamos la gracia de que pueda hablar.
That little boy later called his sister up to the stage, making it hard for the Monsignor nearby to keep a straight face. That definitely was a special moment. That is Currents News. I'm Liz Faublas, and just a reminder that Currents News is moving to a new time slot. Starting Monday, December 3rd, the news will air at 7 p.m. As always, thank you so much for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news, and I hope to see you again next time.